You're now watching the Mike Missinelli Podcast on the BetRivers Network.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Mike Missinelli Podcast. Oh, the heat wave is upon us, and we're all miserable. We're all staying inside with the air conditioner. Or if you find you have a pool in your backyard, you're lucky on days like this. The Mike Missinelli Podcast on Thursday, June 19th. It is brought to you by the great people at BetRivers. I hope you made a lot of money on the Boston Celtics winning the NBA championship. I made a couple shekels making that bet. That was easy money to pick the Celtics in this series. But let's start with the current events of the week. And, you know, this is a slow time in Philadelphia for sports. So we got the Phillies to latch on to. So let's latch on to the Phillies. They're still comfortably in first place in the National League. The record's not as good as the Yankees at this time, but you know, they lost a couple games. I know people like to panic, and I tried to warn you against panicking because the pitching staff is going to hold them together no matter what weaknesses you see in this team. So let's look at a couple of the weaknesses that developed this week. First of all, they sent Johan Rojas to the minor leagues. Now, our last podcast, I was willing to bet Darren $100 they wouldn't do that. But I said at first a sawbuck, which is $10. And then when I said 100, I crossed my fingers. So we're going back to the 10. So I owe you 10, producer Darren. And I didn't think it was going to happen because he was hitting 230. And you know, the only way I thought they would send him back down, he hit 200. He was hitting 230. But they didn't like a lot of things on what he was doing. And he was not bunting. He had a really difficult time trying to lay down a bunt, which is beyond comprehension to me since he came up in the minor leagues with a lot of speed, and you would think he would perfect that skill. But one of the things I said about him was that he was not ready for Major League pitching. I saw complete flaws in his swing and his approach in the major leagues in the series against the Diamondbacks. And they kept trying to tell you that in the offseason he got stronger and blah, blah, blah. He didn't do anything in spring training. And I said, well, once he didn't do that in spring training, he had to start the year in the minor leagues. Now, by now, he might have been ready to really be a starting center fielder. Instead, they threw him in the lineup, brought him north with the team, and he wasn't ready. And one of the things, listen, I know a lot about baseball, right? I can spot things in baseball. And the one thing I spotted about him is that he's a bottom of the order hitter with speed who's got a long swing and uses a long bat. And for the life of me, I'm thinking, you got this kid in the minor leagues. How in the world do you let him do that? Like, you're going to now bring him up to the major leagues with a long swing and a long bat with not, the last time he was in the major leagues, he had no success whatsoever. So he had a confidence problem. And that confidence problem continued in spring training. And then you're going to, like, what, put your head in the sand about how well he was going to play in the big leagues? Now, that being said, he started to get a couple hits and raise his average, so I'm thinking, there's no way they're going to send him down now. But they sent him down. Now, this creates a problem for them a little bit in their everyday lineup. So, because what do? Are they going to make Brandon Marsh the everyday center fielder? It looks like they might have to do that. And you got Pache that can play center field, and he stinks. He can't hit. And then you got David Dahl, who conned you early on when he slung in some hits and hit a home run early on in his Phillies tenure. He's now hitting 200. So now you're going to trot him out in left field, and you're going to platoon him with Whit Merrifield while you platoon Pache and Marsh in center field. The Phillies are a good team. And then you get the other guy, Castellanos, who got 4 hits. And you know, it's amazing when people see something like that. They go, see, you were wrong. Yeah, it was one game. All right, so he's still hitting 220. So the outfield offensive production has not been good except for Marsh occasionally. And now you're going to mix in guys like Dahl Merrifield, who are 200 type hitters right now, and Pache, who can't hit with Marsh. Like, I don't know whether this is going to hurt them. They're good enough all over that it probably won't hurt them because their pitching staff, as I've said before, is going to carry them through these games. But, you know, that's not a potent offensive outfield. You need somebody to give you some production in the outfield. And so with the trading deadline coming around, I have said they need a right-handed bat. They clearly need a right-handed bat that they can play in left field and play that guy occasionally in right field and give Castellanos a blow. And I think when Thompson plays him every day, Castellanos, he goes, I can't. There's nobody on this team that I can put out in right field. So they need another versatile piece. Now, in their current form, are they a National League champion? Well, I don't know. Are they as good as the Dodgers? Maybe they can beat the Dodgers. I think it's the two-horse race in the National League for who gets to the World Series, and maybe in their current form they can beat the Dodgers. But I would think they would have to strengthen their team, and I've been saying this for several weeks in two areas. One, a right-handed outfield bat with a little pop, and another right-handed relief pitcher that you can rely on. Because let's face it, it's catch as catch can with the Sir Anthony Dominguez. Sometimes he's effective, sometimes he's not. I would like to have a guy in there that you can have a little more faith in. Right now, the only right-hander they have faith in is Jeff Hoffman. And you know, we're like, come on with Ruiz. You're trying to squeeze lemon juice out of a lemon that just doesn't have a lot of juice in it with Ruiz. You're just crossing your fingers. So you need another reliable right-hander, in my opinion. All right, so there you go. Let's talk about Rojas for a little bit, Darren, because I know you were the one that said he should be sent to the minor league, or when they had a numbers problem when Turner was reactivated, somebody would have to go. And I didn't think it would be him. I thought that they were actually going to DFA Pache. It's no, see, Dahl and Pache couldn't be sent to the minors. For people who don't know this, they were out of options, so you had to put them on waivers and designate them for assignment. And during that period, a team could have picked them up for free. And I'm going, okay, is that really a big loss that you move Pache? Pache has proven he's never going to be a consistent hitter in the big leagues, and he's okay defensively. He's not a whirlwind. So I didn't think that was a big loss, and that's why I thought they would keep Rojas on the roster.
Rojas is the only one that made sense to me to go, basically because they do like Pache. They do see him as someone because he can play a little defense. Now, if someone's got to go at this point, it's going to be Dahl, I think, because I think the Dahl experiment really fizzled kind of quick. He hasn't really done much since those first couple games. He's going to have to earn his keep at this point, as long as Rojas is down, when he gets the opportunities. Castellanos, though, he's going into last night since Trea Turner came back and they moved him back down in the order. I think he was 6 for 9 with a pair of doubles. He had the game winner, the walk-off the other night. I'm not saying I'm not one of those guys. See, he told you. No, I'm not like that. But
yeah, I think you are. You are. And
I'm not with him. He drives me nuts.
I knew that's where you would go with it.
No, I'm just saying maybe he can warm up a little bit and be more serviceable than he's been. You're right. He's still hitting 220, but he's made some changes.
Where's he made changes? Where's he made the changes?
That's all. He's made some changes in his preparation. So he's just doing different things. That makes a difference.
What are you talking about? He's made some changes in his what? What changes has he made?
He's taken extra batting practice. He's changed his swing a little bit, and he's taking a lot more pitches.
He was doing that early on. That was a big story. Oh, he's more selective. He is what he is. There are not going to be any changes that he's going to make, and occasionally he's going to.
Mike, he's not going to turn into Mike Trout.
He's going to have a couple games where he slings in a couple hits, but he's not making any changes in his preparation. Yeah. He is what he is. He hasn't changed his stance at all. What did he do in the last game against the Padres? In the last game against the Padres, he was 1 for 4, 2 strikeouts. All right, so again, you're going to run into some nights where you're going to get some hits, but I don't believe that he's a guy that all of a sudden is going to catch fire. I just don't. So. There's that. There's always been that problem.
I just think he could be serviceable.
We'll see what happens with the rest of the outfield. All right. So those are your Phillies situations. And this is a team you expect to go to the World Series. You're going to wind up platooning Pache with Marsh and Dahl with Merrifield. I mean, what are we talking about here? Something's got to give. Something's got to be changed. And I know Dombrowski's not satisfied with that. If I'm sitting back there looking at it, I go, man, come on. This is team supposed to go to World Series. We got to do better than that in the outfield. Our collective average in the outfield is like
giving them nothing. Merrifield gives them nothing, Mike. He hasn't given them anything yet. I mean, he's one guy that I think I've seen enough of, that experiment.
I think we've got guys on this roster that we're hoping we get production out of, and maybe it's just the end of their production line. It maybe just is. It happens to baseball players. Like Whit Merrifield, who was a two-hit wit for most of his career. Maybe he's hit a wall, and maybe Castellanos has hit that same wall. We have to allow for that, and that's why you have to make a move with somebody reliable who's got some pop who can play outfield.
I would replace Merrifield with Clemens when he's healthy on the roster. That would be the one move that I'd like to see them do.
Yeah, but Clemens can't play outfield.
Nobody can play all the infield positions.
But you don't need the infield positions. What do you need the infield position?
I mean, what's Merrifield? Some big defensive star in the outfield that he's that valuable?
He's a better defensive player than Clemens would be because he's played outfield for a lot of his career. You can't just throw an infielder to the outfield.
I'm not saying to do that.
He's going to there's this nonsense with Sosa.
No, that's ridiculous.
Throw him in the outfield. It's a terrible thing to do. You can't, and it's a major league level now. You can't just throw guys. It's not like Little League where you have interchangeable parts. It's a professional league.
Mike, I'm not saying to play him in the outfield. I just think he's more valuable to the team at this point than Merrifield.
Where? That's the thing. The valuable guy has to play the outfield. The valuable guy doesn't have to play the infield. They're fine with their infielders. They got one backup infielder, Sosa, who can play all positions. They don't need another one. They need an outfield guy with production. And besides that, he's a left-handed hitter. You need right-handed pop.
I agree there.
All right, let's move on. The NBA Finals over. As predicted, the Boston Celtics win. Let's suspense of this, though, right away, because there are a lot of people saying, wow, this could be one of the best NBA teams ever. They're a good team. They're not one of the best NBA teams ever. They beat a weakened team in the finals. It's like when the Phillies won the World Series in 2008. We were smart enough to say, well, you know what? They played a team that I don't think was like a great team in the Tampa Bay Rays, right? And we always looked at that and go, wow, they should really win this World Series because that team isn't as good as some of the teams that should have gotten there from the American League. And this is kind of the same thing. The Dallas Mavericks were a nice team. They overachieved. But, they were a 5 seed. And here's the thing about I don't understand about people who cover the NBA or pundits that talk about the NBA. All of a sudden now, Luka Doncic is getting cooked as a failure. And I'm going, how? The NBA, he lost in the NBA Finals to a much better team. How is he a failure? Now, when this happened to the Milwaukee Bucks 2 years ago, when they lost in the first round, Giannis goes, he's not a failure. Well, yeah, that was a failure. You lost in the first round, for crying out loud. It's not a failure when you lose to a better team in the NBA Finals. Who could sit there and say Dallas should have won that series? Look at the disparity in the teams. The thing that made Dallas survive was good defensive efforts against weak offensive teams in the Western Conference. So now they couldn't defend a really good offensive team that moves the ball and where every guy on the floor can make a three-point shot. You can't defend that. So the Celtics go on and win, but they're not one of the best NBA teams in all time. Will they carry sway for like the next couple of years in the NBA, especially in the East? Yes, they will, because they've got 2 stars that are really solid players, and they've got a bunch of really selfless role players. Like Derek White and Drew Holiday are 2 of the most selfless role players I've ever seen who are good players. And that's what teams need to have. They need to have those kind of players. And even Porzingis, when he came back, he gave him a lift. And you guys got ageless Al Horford, who fits in perfectly with that team. He didn't fit in here. He stole money as a Sixer, but he fits in perfectly with that Boston team. And then they bring guys like Hauser and Peyton Pritchard off the bench, for Christ's sake. And those guys fit in. It is amazing how Brad Stevens and then before him, Danny H. have found these perfect role players to go along with 2 stars who on any night can carry you. Both of them, Tatum and Brown, can carry you. So, and the owner comes out yesterday and says, every guy on this team is coming back. All right, well, guess what? Is that good news for the Sixers? The Sixers got their thumb in their butt playing around with Paul George. Like, what do we have to look forward to as a Sixer team now? Are they going to challenge the Boston Celtics with whatever they do in the offseason? Seriously? Are we going to be conned to thinking that Daryl Morey's going to bring in a 3rd star and it's going to project the Sixers to be a better team than the Boston Celtics? It's bleak. And it's like, I don't know how this got so out of control. But coincidentally, and I know Morey took over in a bad situation, coincidentally, this has taken place under Morey's watch. So I don't want to hear anymore how savvy he is. They had the wrong formula, and Boston pursued the right formula. Get role players that can actually make a difference to surround your stars with. Don't give me, and now we're going to put up, they're going to re-sign Batum and Kelly Oubre and this guy and that. Come on, man. Seriously. Are we talking about the same level role players that Boston has? If you keep the Kelly Oubres and the Nick Batums of the world, let's be realistic about this. All right, I'm off my soapbox. JJ Redick still doesn't have the Lakers job. JJ Redick does not have the Lakers job. It is amazing to me that he doesn't have the Lakers job. So I'll say one thing. Maybe the Lakers don't want to hire JJ Redick. Maybe they think it's too much trouble to hire JJ Redick. And here's the rub. Monty Williams is now available. Trajan Langdon took the director of basketball operations job for the Detroit Pistons. First thing he did was fire Monty Williams, who has $54 million left on his contract. Monty Williams can go home, smoke a cigar in the backyard for the next 4 years and make $54 million. But guys like that want to coach. Now, is it possible? Here, let me look at it through Trajan Langdon's mind. He goes, wow, I'm going to be on the hook for $54 million. But he's smart enough to figure out that he's not on the hook for $54 million. Here's why. He knows Monty Williams is going to get a head coaching job somewhere in the league, and maybe with the Lakers. And if he does, that $54 million is going to be mitigated. A lot of people think that you get a job, you're going to get that on top of the $54 million. That's not the way contract law works. You have $54 million coming to him, and the next job may pay you $50 million to be the head coach of the Lakers. Guess what? Detroit only owes you $4 million. So that's why it's safe to fire him. You can't look at it like, oh my God, the Pistons are going to owe him $54 million of free money. That's probably not going to work. So now I go, will the Lakers be interested in Monty Williams? I don't know. But conversely, will the Detroit Pistons be interested in JJ Redick? You know, these Duke guys stick together. There's this kind of, weird bond between Dukies. Trajan Langdon's a Dookie. JJ Redick's a Dookie. Maybe the Pistons hire J.J. Redick. And would he take that job? Here's the beauty of J.J. Redick. He'll go to a team that maybe has some stars on it where he can win. Would he go to a direct team and try to build the Detroit Pistons? I don't know. But I don't think J.J. Redick's the type of guy that would do that. Have a great rest of the week. We'll talk to you next week, everybody. Bye-bye. Stay cool. All right. See you.